music though. You recently saw Metallica.
Yeah.
Up in MetLife Stadium, night two. First time seeing him live.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell sometimes because you see so many videos now and you forget, was I there or was I not? And videos often can be really good.
Yeah, of course.
It was the first time I saw them live. Yeah.
That's hard to believe though. They tore that area pretty common.
So I was never really a metalhead growing up. And
Really?
yeah, I was more like hardcore punk.
Oh, okay. You're on the other side. Okay.
All that. And Metallica was kind of a nice to have from that point of view. It was like it can inform some things, but it wasn't your sweet spot. And really, as I've gotten older, I've appreciated them a lot more, and even just the business story of them and the doing it this long, and they're great content. Even being interviewed, most musicians are not great being interviewed.
Oh, dude, they're the best. I'm not trying to be biased on that either, but like and you and I can relate to this because you and I both been in bands before in the past. I've always said that Metallica of any music act in the history of music, based on what I've seen, and because I'm a really diehard fan of theirs, I actually have a little even more insight into how they operate as a business. They have probably the most organized business model into how to be a band and to make yourself interesting within your ecosystem of any band or artist I've ever seen in history of music. And
maybe Taylor Swift, but
we're going 42 years down this now. You know, the way they've built their kind of army and this whole ecosystem and to make themselves interesting, the fan club thing, and the way they put the products out, and even for the fans, it's so interesting. Even today, like they have this thing called the Metallica Black Box, and they do a thing where I did put the article. I put it in a second. I read that actually. It's a really, really good article.
It was all about this.
Fantastic. Yeah, and they just did one recently on Saint Anger. Saint Anger's 20th anniversary this past summer, and they have all the stuff related to Saint Anger in the vault. So not just music, but also like notes, songwriting stuff, photos, maybe clips of them in the studio working on music and stuff. Interviews, side interviews, all that. Just the way they present their product, as an artist, beyond just okay, here's a song, here's an album, blah blah blah. See you in 5 years. No, it's the way they present themselves all the way through. To me, I think it's the most organized model I've ever seen in music.
No, it's very good, and I mean, the way they were early on fighting Napster, and everyone thought they were a buzzkill. Yeah. The way they held off with the streamers, and then by the time coming to the streamers, it became like a big get, as opposed to just being in the streaming services from the beginning. They could make an announcement about coming to it. So they do a lot right. I loved in the New Yorker article about them how I can't believe Robert's been there like 20 years now.
20 years even. Yep.
It's crazy. But I'm used to growing up in bands, and you try out in bands and it's like, all right, let's go for a beer. I think it was in that article. It said he had $2 million dropped into his account the minute he was chosen.
Correct. Yeah. It's under some kind of monster movie, actually.
It's crazy.
It is nuts, isn't it?
I mean, and because they're winning, like there's always the thought with musicians and even writers and all that, but mostly musicians, that they have to be starving to be great. Because when you stop starving, or when your belly gets full, when you find all the love, when you get everything you've ever needed, you lose the need to emotionally emanate creation. But they're like a business. They don't. They keep going. They keep being fresh. They keep delivering. And
there's Elk right here.
Yeah, it is great. I mean, it's
you see it on the screen. You see it?
Yep, the enduring metal genius of
Metallica. Yeah. And I'll tell you what. Look, Lars may not have handled it the best way possible in terms of Napster, in terms of the optics, but he was correct all along. It wasn't ever about the streaming. They took a song. People forget Napster took an unfinished song that was somehow leaked somewhere and put it out to the masses. It wasn't even a finished song. It was "I Disappear." By the way, at the time it wasn't finished yet. It was still it had been mastered and mixed yet at that point. And they'd asked them to take it down. They said no. That's what triggered Metallica to do what they did. But I think what people piss about Metallica more than anything else is that the way Lars handled the whole thing, you know, kind of like an arrogant rock star kind of thing, you know, is why they reacted the way they did. The fans reacted the way they did. But, you know, in the end, they were correct on that. Yeah. Lars sounded the sword. Lars sounded the sword for all these artists.
Well, the coolest thing of going to the concert was, first of all, I was getting very sick, and I just pretended I wasn't sick, and I was able to get through it. But I really don't care about the opening bands much. That's the thing with metal. Like, most of the time, I'm not going to like the other bands.
Was it Pantera there?
No, the second one, it was that Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh, okay.
Band.
Not a big fan of it. Not a big fan of this personally, but
yeah, and I'm fine with. I was fine enough with Pantera, but honestly, my sweet spot with heavy was that metal tinged hardcore. That was always my thing. And they have breakdowns, and they have like that's my thing. And so, but Metallica, I totally appreciate. But it was funny because my wife Melanie and I went to that concert, and I didn't even need to see the starter bands. So we got there at 6, which is when the thing started. We parked near the old Izod Center where the Nets used to play, which is now American Dream, the big water park or whatever, a big Mall of America type of deal.
Ah, okay.
And we parked. We had gotten Smash Burger on the way down. Put the Tesla in park, and sat, shared a bottle of wine.
Wow.
Ate our Smash Burger, and watched The Bear on the Tesla screen.
Nice.
On Hulu. And we watched the whole episode. It was great. It was comfortable. It was our form of tailgating. And we meandered ourselves very nicely over to the stadium. Got one more drink there, and we're right in time to see Metallica. It was like a perfect night for me.
Dude, you're lucky, man. I mean, I've seen him 4 times. I saw him in 97. I saw him in 99, 2004, 2017. And, you know, unfortunately, not coming down here. I had it in mind to try to go at one of these shows on this tour, like either Jersey. Buddy, one of my best friends from high school, who's a hardcore fan. And I showed you the video. He lives down here in South Florida. He flew to the Montreal show, both Montreal shows, the week after the Jersey shows. He does that normally. Last tour in 2018 for Hardwired, he flew to Sweden to see him. What he does is he integrates his love for travel with Metallica's tour schedule. So I'm going to Sweden. Well, I'm going to go to Sweden to Metallica, and I'm going to go to Sweden in the process. You know, same with Canada, and he's going to see him in Detroit. Not Detroit. He's going to see him again at some point in the store also too. So no, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool though. Yeah, you're lucky you get to see him in the store. I mean, I did see them on screen, but it's not the same. It's not the same being there in person. You know, God.
It was very good. It was.